thing. Whenever you, no, stop making that gesture. Okay, so whenever you're going through and you're putting text evidence, do we just put the quote in there?
No.
No, excellent. You don't know where to put the quote? That's called quote dropping. Don't drop the quote. It's like a hot potato. You're right. Don't drop the potato, okay? Don't drop the quote. That's a big no-no. So what do we do so we don't drop the quote? Yes, we need the little parentheses. But what goes before that? The quotations.
Introducing it, like saying.
We need to embed it. Right, maybe TE means text evidence, and then you actually want to give text evidence. Okay, so how do we embed this? What's a good way to start this off?
For example.
Nice transition. Nice transition. Okay, so for example, when I have a comma there, right? Who started actually saying it? Because y'all were doing a good job there.
Usman.
Usman, go for it.
In the play, Romeo said,
For example, you can also say in the play Romeo says. That's also a wonderful transition. Like
actually, Juliet said him.
Okay, so for example, Juliet says to Romeo,
and then you put the
meet me tomorrow. We will cook. We
shall get married or something.
meet me tomorrow, we'll get married.
We shall get
We're
married.
going to paraphrase this. We're going to paraphrase it for the sake that we don't want to spend 15 minutes looking up the exact quote. When we're actually doing our actual responses, okay, we'll get back in the text and find a very specific quote and copy it verbatim, word for word, okay?
I know the exact quote. We shall get married at noon.
We shall get married at noon.
Meet me beyond her. We shall get married.
No, she says, let her know what time they're getting married.
So for the sake of paraphrasing, because whenever a little bit later on from now, you're actually going to put together your own, we're just going to say, meet me tomorrow, we'll get married, okay? Y'all know this is a paraphrase. We put in our own words. That would be really nice if we had all the time, though. We have a very limited amount of time together. So, Julia says to Romeo, meet me tomorrow, we will get married. How do I punctuate this? Where do the quotations start?
From meet.
Where does it meet to?
Get married.
Married. All right. What else am I missing?
Period.
Where does the period go?
Married.
After married.
Before the thing.
Yeah. After married, before the quotations. All right. What else am I missing? There's one more thing.
A comma.
A comma. Where?
Behind Romeo.
Yes. For example, Juliet says to Romeo, comma, open quotation, meet me tomorrow and we will get married. Period, close quotation. Excellent. And this is a complete example. We've embedded our text evidence. We've provided the text evidence, proper punctuation. This is beautiful. Okay, so next step. Next step in our short answer, we want to explain our response. Right? So like I said, all we're doing is we are connecting. We're connecting the dots, right?
Miss, can we use the beginning of that? Where it says from end to relationship?
Not to have a relationship?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can type back into that. That is exactly what you want to do. You want to connect your text evidence to your answer. So if you don't actually reference your answer, you're probably not on par actually. So go ahead and take a second, think about this, and then let's talk about this as a team. So how can we explain this? So you want to think about how does your text evidence explain your answer? So what in that quote shows that they're not mature enough to have a relationship?
We're getting married.
They're getting married? What's wrong with that?
They're getting married.
Did they really know each other for a day?
Excellent. They've known each other for like 2 days, right? And now they're getting married?
Technically, it was one day or whenever they decided to get married.
Okay, so they've just met.
5 hours.
Not even knowing each other for like more than a day, and they decided to get married.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
He was being all stalkerish on her and everything.
Now he'd be drugging her faces just like, ooh, girl.
I like the body motion. Okay, so how can this be a complete sentence? Let's do this together. For example, Juliet says to Romeo, meet me tomorrow and we'll get married. How can we put this together in a sentence? You guys have the right answer. Let's just put down the idea in that academic language. We know it's too soon to get married, right?
This quote
This
shows
example-
that they decided to get married way too soon.
Okay, so.
This is an immature decision.
Okay, so this quote shows. We could say this quote, but let's try to kind of say, for example, like this quote shows and just explain how it shows it, right? So instead of telling them what you're going to tell them, just tell them, right? So you say this quote shows that Romeo and Juliet are willing to jump into a relationship. Okay, so
Why don't they just go out and not get married?
Because their fathers don't like each other.
Okay, they can do it behind their back. I've done that before.
oh my goodness, I don't want to hear this.
In a long time.
No. Okay, so Romeo and Juliet are willing to get married after only knowing each other
For 5 minutes.
Or a night.
For 5 hours. Actually, 1
Or like,
Putting it on the dot. It's 5
it
hours.
was 2 hours.
It's however many hours.
Miss, okay.
I'm just gonna say 1 day because technically it's like early afternoon, like when this party probably starts with the whole evening
Oh,
hanging
the party
out.
started at
Yeah.
night.
Okay, so for 1 evening?
Late.
Yes. And then they stayed with each other till sunrise and all.
Okay, so Romeo and Juliet are willing to get married after only knowing each other for 1 evening. What's wrong with this?
We don't do that when we wait like 10 years. How many years?
Isn't a short answer like 7, 8 lines?
It's 10 lines.
How much? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's just 6. Are we gonna get to 10 lines? I can't even write one that's 3 lines.
You can do it. We'll get there, okay? The fact that they barely know each other shows
That they have fallen in love at first sight. Actually, they fell in love with her.
Yeah. Either way, it's really stupid.
It's not love.
Because they're like,
That might be true. But I'm still good.
Forever alone. We don't have to write this down.
yes, you do.
Where do we write it?
When you're done writing it down.
No.
Wait, miss, where do we write it? Under question?
Okay, so in your booklets you have the short answer set up. On the next page, all you do is give yourself short answer model.
You already wrote one?
You wrote down the question. Of course I have.
I bet she's probably the same thing as up there.
It's a little bit different. We used, this is my first session. We used a different quote, and so the explanation is a little bit different.
What was the quote?
Well, like I said, we're using paraphrasing, and so it says, Friar Lawrence tells Romeo, you're falling in love with the girl you just met. The fact that Romeo has just met Juliet and he already was in love with her, and yet barely knew her, shows that he lacks maturity for a serious relationship.
Alright, so I think ours is right.
They're both wonderful in different ways. Okay, so take a look at this. In Shakespeare's play Romeo and Juliet, the young couple were not mature enough to have a relationship. For example, Juliet says to Romeo, meet me tomorrow and we will get married. Romeo and Juliet are willing to get married after only knowing each other for one evening. The fact that they barely know each other and are willing to take this step demonstrates their immaturity, period. Oh, it took you like 5 years to finish that though. Go, super fast. Super fast. I'm timing you. You do realize that I have a watch on. Get out of here. Go. I'll see you back in 30 seconds. Go get some water. Alright, so 30 seconds. So I'm gonna go ahead and let's see. Oh, let's do one more thing before we do anything else. I'm gonna put some markers out. Y'all do me a favor. I want you to come and grab 3 light colors, or you can use color pencils. 3 light colors.
Color coding?
I will show you, good sir. Color coding. All right. So, like I said, we need 3 colors. Please come back in and take your seats and do all 3 colors. All right. So there are 3 parts to A, right? You're going to answer the question. You're going to provide text evidence, proof, right? And you're going to explain how your text evidence supports your answer. All right, so go ahead and take 1 color, and I want you to highlight your answer. Okay, so you provided an introduction, and you provided your answer. So highlight that first one. Highlight your embedding and your text evidence, and then highlight your explanation. Right, and your explanation can be more than 1 sentence.
What if you messed up?
If you messed up, that's okay. All right, so go ahead and take a moment on your own and try to highlight all 3 of these. I'm gonna do the same thing. Okay. So you want to highlight 3 different colors. And if you know if you don't have all 3 colors, you're missing some aspect of that response and it's not going to get full point. So I want you to have this as a nice solid model so that when you look back at it, you know like all of these different ideas, all these different colors. All the first one, all my green one, this is all your introduction and your answer. The next color is all your embedding and your text evidence. The next one is all of your explanation, how it connects that text evidence back to your answer. It all kind of comes together and makes sense. And so you need all 3 of these. And here's why I have you do it in different colors. Because there's something in the brain that every time you flip to a different color, it registers the idea a little bit differently. And so we want to make sure that all like our different little neurons are kind of like fixing themselves together. And one of the ways to do this is to break up the color coding. So you really know like this is the answer, this is my proof, this is my explanation. If you don't have all 3, you can identify them separately. They kind of all meld together. Something is probably missing, right? So you want to make sure that you can find all 3 of those separately, and the color coding helps a lot. Constantly speak in a weird British accent the rest of the day. I can't do that.
Actually, we only have like 25 minutes.
Still, that's a long time of like weird British accent talking time. What?
What?
Yeah. Okay. Okay, second read through. Because here's the thing. It's a poem, right? The first time, you want to get the story in your head, the language in your head, let it kind of swish around your brain a little bit. Now I actually want you to read and like really take away like, what is the author's tone? What is the attitude?
Reread it?
We're going to read it together as a class. And then kind of look at some of the big picture ideas, like what is it, the ideas they're trying to establish, right? What are the feelings? So here we go. Follow along with me. Well then, the last day the sharks appeared. Dark fins appear, innocent as if. Do me a favor. Every time you read a poem, if you see that little note, the little number, you always want to read it. That's called a footnote. Okay? You always want to read the footnote. So you can take a look at line 5. I tell you, they break 6 feet of water. So it's a little 1. We're going to look at the bottom of the page. It says they break 6 feet of water. So sharks often show their dorsal fin if the water is shallow enough. They break 6 feet of water. So you know that's pretty good sized shark, right? Okay, so here's what we got. We're going to use this poem and we're going to write a short answer question. And so you see ours here we have on Romeo and Juliet. You have one as a model. And so I want you to keep this and I want you to use this as a model. And then I want you to try on your own, without my help, actually writing your own short answer using the structure we talked about that I put on the board at the beginning of class, and using the model we put together as a class with proper punctuation, grammar, everything, right? So you want to make sure you have all 3 lines, because when we're asking you to color code, you want to make sure you have all those different aspects of it, alright? We don't want to deviate from